Okay. So in the previous lecture, we have started with chapter number 5. So that is having the title as Civil Society and Environment. So in this particular chapter, we are going to discuss 2 points basically. So as the title suggests, so we are going to divide this chapter into 2 parts. In first part, we are going to see about civil society, what is that concept, and in second part, we are going to discuss about the environmental issues and business ethics related to that particular point. So first we have seen what is the business ethics. Then we have seen the definition of civil society organization. So what is the CSO concept? So as I have discussed, so this is not the private or this is not the governmental sector, but in between that, these are some groups or these are some organizations which are working together in the interest of citizens, but they are not governmental or they are not the private sector, and also they are not working for the profit purpose. The main purpose of working of this society is for the betterment of the society or welfare of the society. So that is the definition of civil society organizations. So we can say in simple words that they are working for some social activities. So the examples of these organizations are given as labor unions, non-profit organizations, NGOs. So most of us know that non-governmental organizations and other services which are important for society. So they are not working for profit making purpose. As we have seen, for business, the main purpose is to maximize the profit. But here, these organizations are not working basically for making profit, but they are working for the welfare of society and they are asking very little in return for their particular service. That is the concept of civil society organization. Then the functions of civil society organization in peace building. So how they are helping to the society for peace building. So they are giving protection to the society. Monitoring they are doing for various parameters. Then advocacy and public communication, social cohesion, intermediation and facilitation, and service delivery. Okay, so these are the functions of civil society in the peace building. Okay. These are the functions of civil society. They are protecting the society. They are doing the monitoring part. They are acting as an advocacy and for public communication, social cohesion, intermediation, and facilitation and service delivery. So these are the functions of civil society for peace building. Then next, types of civil society groups. So the types for civil society groups, if we see, so examples already we have discussed: community groups, non-governmental organizations, that is NGOs, labor unions, indigenous groups, charitable organizations, faith-based organizations, professional associations, and foundations. So one example I will give. So for example, IEEE. So that is one professional body which is working for, so IEEE stands for Institute of Electronics and Electrical Engineers. So this is the professional body which is working to promote the research in the field of electronics and electrical. They are giving the platform for the researchers to present their work. So that is the example of professional associations. Okay, so that is the types of civil society groups. Then characteristics of civil society, if we see, so basically these 4 characteristics we can highlight for civil society. The first one, it is social change. So they are working to bring some positive changes in the societal aspect. Social activities are performed by these civil societies. The social change is main characteristics. Then social accountability. So accountability, that word we have seen a number of times. So basically accounting word stands for accepting the responsibility or taking the responsibility 100%. That is the meaning of this accountability word. So they are taking the accountability for the actions, whatever they are doing. Then community empowerment. So there are various communities still in the society. For example, काही गरीब लोक आहेत किंवा आदिवासी अशा rural area मधल्या काही communities आहेत, still they are not developed. So they are not getting the education, they are not getting the facilities for their development. So characteristics of this civil society is to empower that particular communities. Then the next task is ensuring the good governance. So along with this, they are governing the various activities, whatever are going on for that particular rural area people, for the illiterate people, whatever activities are going on, those are monitored, those are governed by this civil society organization. So these are the characteristics of civil society organizations. Social change, social accountability, community empowerment, and ensuring the good governance. So these are the characteristics. Then next we are going to see how these civil society organizations, they are acting as a stakeholder for any business. So if we see these civil society organizations are not directly related with the business, but still how they are acting as a stakeholder for the particular business that we are going to see. So though not directly they are related with the business, but indirectly anyhow they are associated with the business. So in what way they are associated? So that we will see. Civil society stakeholders take a number of roles in this field, and among their goals we highlight. So what are the various goals? Engaging with the general public, then advocating for science, public policy, and politics to communicate better. So they are, how they are helping for the business to have or to increase the interaction with the society. That points are given here. So engaging with general public in one or another way, they are related with the general public. As we know that NGOs are the examples, or some other charitable trusts, or some particular firms which are working for the betterment of the society, all that comes under the CSO. So anyhow, these CSOs are always getting engaged with the general public as they are working basically for the society only. So they are engaging with the general public. They are advocating for science, public policy, and politics to communicate better. So they are working in the side of science, public policy, and politics to communicate better. Also, the advocating for science as a key element to improve the international relations. Okay, so as a part of the science, or as they are advocating for the science as a key element to improve the international relations. So for example, whenever there are some research parameters considered or some scientific things are considered, so to have the platform, जसं मी तुम्हाला आता एक एक्झाम्पल सांगितलं की IEEE, whatever is that a professional body, so they are giving the platform for the researchers to present their works at international level. So like that, these organizations are giving a good platform to share their knowledge, to share their various ideas. So in that way, this point it is concerned here that they are advocating for science as a key element to improve the international relations. So as they are giving the good platform for exchange of ideas at international levels, they are working as a advocator for this particular scientific things. Okay, then facilitating communication channels and exchange interfaces among researchers, politicians, and other stakeholders. So these civil society organizations, they are helpful for improving the international relations as well as sharing and exchange of the idea along the various countries to the researchers, to the politicians, and to the other stakeholders. Okay, so that is the one function of the civil society organization. And is obviously एखाद्या business मध्ये when the interactions are increased, obviously you will get the scope for more number of customers. जेवढे international level ला तुमचे interactions increase होतात, that many number of customers are increased for your particular business, and so that many number of people are increased for your particular business, and the scope for your product sale, that is increased. Then these are advocating for concrete specific goals of science diplomacy, that is climate change, etc. So anyhow, though the countries are physically apart, through this CSO, they are getting the scope to interact with each other on scientific front, on some technological front. So they are helping the increase in the interaction, or they are helping to build the good relationship with some other international societies and so. Okay, so in this way, though they are not directly the stakeholders of the business, किंवा एखाद्या बिझनेसशी जरी डायरेक्टली ह्या सिव्हिल सोसायटी ऑर्गनायझेशन कन्सर्न नसल्या तरी in some one or another way they are helping that businessman to increase their customers, to increase their the scope of selling of their particular product, through the increase in this international relations. So they are also acting as a stakeholder for the particular business. Okay, so in this way or by through these means, the civil society organizations are acting as a stakeholders for particular business. Then next point, we have to see what are the ethical issues in the civil society organization. So what ethical issues may come when these CSOs are working. So civil society asks the deeply ethical questions of how we want to treat one another as individuals, as organizations, as governments, as economics and country. So basically these CSOs are working for human rights. They are working for welfare of the society. So which ethical issues are considered in the working of this CSO that we have to see. So the ethical issues considered in the CSO are these one. So we will see one by one. Trustworthiness, how you can trust. विश्वास अर्हता असा अर्थ होतो ट्रस्टवर्दीनेसचा. रिस्पेक्ट, देन रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी, fairness, caring and citizenship. Okay, so here is one table in which in the left side the core ethical value it is mentioned, and on the right side what are the ethical principles supporting to that core ethical values are given. Okay, so first ethical issue it is trustworthiness. So trustworthiness means how much you can trust to the other person, म्हणजे विश्वास अर्हता किती आहे त्या पर्टिक्युलर गोष्टीसाठी. दॅट इज द मिनिंग ऑफ दिस ट्रस्टवर्दीनेस. सो कोर इथिकल व्हॅल्यू इज ट्रस्टवर्दीनेस and supporting ethical principles for these are truthfulness. So how you can say that a particular person is trustworthy, म्हणजे विश्वास ठेवण्याचा तो योग्य आहे असं तुम्ही तर कधी म्हणू शकता जेव्हा त्याच्यामध्ये हे इथिकल प्रिन्सिपल असतील. फॉर एक्झाम्पल, if that person is having truthfulness, so he is means we can trust on that person when he is speaking true. For example, if a person is not speaking true, then we will say that we obviously cannot trust on that person. Sincerity, the person should be sincere. Then candor, integrity, how much is the integrity of that person for a particular task, that is important. Promise keeping, it should have, once the task it is given, you should have committed work for that particular thing. So promise keeping should be there. Loyalty and honesty, so he should be honest किंवा त्याच्यावरती विश्वास ठेवण्यायोग्य तो असला पाहिजे. So trustworthiness, that ethical value is related with this ethical principle. So it is very simple. ह्या ethical value आहेत असं आपण कधी म्हणू शकतो की जेव्हा त्या पर्टिक्युलर व्यक्तीमध्ये हे सगळे पॉइंट्स असतात तेव्हा. So or by considering these points, these characteristics is evaluated. Then the next core ethical value is respect. So what are the supporting ethical principles for respect? Respect, autonomy, then courtesy, self-determination. So the person should be able to understand, or he should be able to put himself in the role of the front person. Then only he will have the courtesy. He should be able to give respect to other. Self-determination, हे सगळे ethical principle respect साठी आहे. Then for responsibility, what are the principles? Obviously taking the responsibility, that characteristic should be there. Then continuous improvement should be there in his work, in his other parameters also. So continuous improvement should be there. Then self restraint, so he should be able to focus on his self development, and that should be implemented for others also. Okay, then next it is the diligence, means for a particular thing or for improvement of particular thing, if you are continuously doing something with proper care, that is the meaning of this diligence. Okay, so diligence stands for the quality of doing work carefully and thoroughly. किती एखादी व्यक्ती एखादं काम सांगितलं तर how much he is able to do that work properly and with some continuity, that is called as the diligence. So when the person is having all these principles, then he is having this core ethical value, we can say. Then fairness. So when justice, fairness, then impartiality and equity. जेव्हा कुठं फेअरनेस एखाद्या माणसामध्ये आहे किंवा when he is giving equal justice for all, then only we can say that particular is having the ethical value as fairness. मग त्याचे कुठले प्रिन्सिपल आहेत? जस्टिस, fairness, impartiality means while working that person should not do any partiality between the persons. Equity means he should treat everyone equally. As an equal person, he should consider everyone. So these are the supporting ethical principles. Then for caring, the supporting ethical principles are caring, kindness, compassion. For citizenship, what are the supporting ethical principles? Citizenship, philanthropy and voting. मग ह्या सगळे जे कोर इथिकल व्हॅल्यूज आहेत किंवा आपण हेडिंग बघतोय ethical issues in CSO. So all these issues are related with this particular supporting ethical principle. Okay, so that is the chart which is explaining. On left side the ethical values are given and on right side the supporting ethical principles are also mentioned. Okay, then globalization and CSO. So how this globalization and CSO that are related to each other, that we are going to see in this particular point. Okay, so as we know everyone that globalization means though the countries are physically apart, technologically they are connected to each other or they are communicating with each other. That is the meaning of globalization. So global civil society refers to the vast assemblage of group operating across borders and beyond the reach of the government. So when we consider this CSO, they are working at domestic level, they are working in the country, and also these CSO are working at the globalized level. असं नाही की CSO म्हणजे ह्या सिव्हिल सोसायटी ऑर्गनायझेशनला फक्त एका कंट्रीमध्येच काम करण्याचं रिस्ट्रिक्शन आहे. They are also having this globalization in their working, and that CSOs are working beyond the, or they are also operating across the borders. Means that CSOs are also working in another country. किंवा काय म्हणू शकतो आपण सिंपल लँग्वेज मध्ये, these CSOs are also acting at international level. Okay, so across the borders and beyond the reach of the government. Then global civil society typically refer to non-governmental groups such as Amnesty International, Greenpeace. So one example they have given, International Labour Organization. आता हे जे आहेत दोन CSO, these CSOs are examples of this globalized CSO. For example, आपली एखादी भारतामध्येच असेल civil society organization which is working for the Indians. So obviously in their working they are considering the people in the India only, and if some ethical issues are there in some other country, so that right they are not having for their particular working. But when we say this global civil society, means they are not only limited to India, but along with India they are concerned with other countries also, and they are giving the, or they are working for the people in other countries also. So they are working at international level. That is the meaning of global civil society. So what are the examples given here? This Amnesty International, Greenpeace, and International Labour Organization. So these are working at the globalized level. Okay. So that is the concept of this global CSO or globalized CSO. Then next, reasons for companies going global. So why the companies are going global basically, or why they are moving towards the globalization? That's जर background बघितलं आपण तर basically these are the reasons for the companies to be or to have the transaction from domestic to the global market. So first one, it is lower wage rates. Generally जेव्हा globalized level ला आपण काम करतो किंवा when the countries are moving or when the people are moving across the border and they are working for in another country, usually the salaries are more. Okay, just a minute. So when someone or as we also know that whenever we consider the salaries and all that things, the companies at global level, they are giving the more salaries, and at local level or at domestic level the salary rate are comparatively less. So lower wage rates, that is one reason. Then reduced transportation cost. So now the transportation cost for this particular globalization level, that is comparatively reduced. So reduced transportation cost, the opportunity to be closer to the suppliers. So आपण globalization मधले ethical issues बघितलेले की supplier is at one place and consumer it as another place in this globalized market. But if you consider the companies are merging together or they are working at a globalized level, the opportunity to be closer with the supplier is increased because of this globalization. Then saturation of local market. Sometimes there are limitations. तुम्ही किती चांगलं product तयार केलं तरी local market मध्ये there are some few products, ते productच customer विकत घेतात. So that is called as the saturation. कस्टमरचे जर प्रोडक्ट फिक्स असतील तर तुम्ही नवीन किती चांगला प्रोडक्ट दिला तरी इझिली दे आर नॉट एक्सेप्टिंग द न्यू प्रोडक्ट. दॅट्स वाय that is one reason for going global. Then to exploit the opportunities in new market. Obviously if you go at global level, the opportunities which you are getting, those are obviously increased. So to exploit the opportunities in new market, that is one reason. Then recession in domestic nation. So many times जसं मी सांगितलं तुम्हाला की लोकल लेवलला काय होतं, नंबर ऑफ कस्टमर्स आर ऑल्सो लेस or number of customers, number of people who are going to purchase that product, those are also less. त्यामुळे तुम्ही किती चांगल्या क्वालिटीचं प्रोडक्ट दिलं तरी there are some limitations on the domestic area. किंवा काही वेळेस डोमेस्टिक एरियातले लोक हे if they are not reach up to the mark, so if your product is costly, they are not in this economical condition to purchase the product. So that's why they are facing the problem of recession in the domestic nation. Okay, So these are all the reasons for companies to prefer the globalization. Okay, so it is very simple. Local level la payment चा प्रॉब्लेम असतो बऱ्याच वेळा सॅलरीचा. So at globalized level the salary is comparatively high. Transportation cost is also increased, that reduced comparatively in nowadays. Then the opportunity to be closer to the suppliers, saturation of local markets, then to exploit opportunities in new market, recession in the domestic nation. These are all the reasons for companies to going at the globalized platform. Then what are the ethical issues in the global organizations that we will see? So political environment like paying bribes and not respecting human rights. So obviously almost these ethical issues are almost somewhat common for local level as well as for the global level, but at global level as the range it is increased, the ethical issues considered are also more. So first ethical issue it is political environment like paying bribes and not respecting the human rights. बऱ्याचदा एखाद्या कामासाठी पैसे घेतले जातात, that is called as bribes, and paying bribes means for getting something done also you are paying money, that is called as the paying bribes and not respecting the human right. एखाद्या कामासाठी लाच देणे किंवा एक्स्ट्रा पैसे देणे किंवा घेणे, both the things are coming under the unethical issues. So because of this globalization or global organization, political environment may be created where someone is making bribe or they are paying bribe to some other person for his work and they are not respecting the human right. That is the first ethical issue. Then second, in case of marketing, MNCs engage in misleading and deceitful advertisement and companies do not accept the responsibilities for unsafe products. So many cases what happens, these multinational companies, they are doing the misleading and deceitful advertisement. So many times related to some particular product, they may mislead for their profit, and in the advertisement the deceitful advertisement it is done, means in which something which is not in actually existence किंवा ज्या प्रॉपर्टीज त्या प्रोडक्ट मध्ये नाहीच त्या प्रॉपर्टीज सांगितल्या जातात फक्त प्रोडक्ट जास्त त्याचा सेल व्हावा म्हणून. And MNCs are doing that misleading and deceitful advertisement for the product, and companies do not accept the responsibilities for the unsafe product. So basically the main manufacturer is not accepting the responsibility for unsafe product just for increase the sale of the product. Deception it is done. म्हणजे बऱ्याच वेळा तिथे ग्राहकांची फसवणूक होते. That is the another issue. Then in case of technology, dumping old and outdated technologies in poor countries to earn the better revenues. So many times what happen, whatever are the old or outdated technologies are there in poor countries or developing countries. So that technologies are dumped, म्हणजे त्या काढून टाकल्या जातात, and for getting the better revenue the advanced technologies are implemented. For example we can say आपल्या रेग्युलर लाईफ मध्ये जर बघितलं आपण तर पूर्वी फॅसिलिटीज कमी होत्या, and nowadays the technological facilities are increased. त्यामुळे जुन्या ज्या काही गोष्टी आहेत ज्या पूर्वी वापरत होते त्या आता आउटडेटेड झाल्या. पूर्वी जात्यावर दळण दळत होत्या बायका, आता आपण गिरणीतून आणतो किंवा बरेचदा त्याच्या पिठाची चक्की आहे ती सुद्धा त्याचं एक मशीन मिळतं पीठ दळून देण्यासाठी. सो ओल्ड टेक्नॉलॉजीज आर नाउ डम्प्ड or those are outdated and the new technology is only used or new products are only used for getting the better revenues for the particular business. Then exploiting low paid foreign workers and ignoring occupational health and safety measures. Okay, so for that particular thing, the exploiting low paid foreign workers and ignoring the occupational health and safety measures. So sometimes the health and safety issues are compromised by considering some salary issues and some particular points, and the health and safety measures, those are not accurately maintained. So these are the ethical issues in the global organizations. Then next we have to see corporate citizenship and civil society. So in third chapter we have seen corporate citizenship concept. Corporate citizenship means what? The role, or what we can say, though the corporates, they are working for their profit purpose, still they are having some role in the society, or they are having some responsibility of the society, and that is the concept of corporate citizenship. And how the corporate citizenship and civil society are related to each other, that we will see. So corporate citizenship is a recognition that a business, corporation, or business-like organization has social, cultural, and environmental responsibilities to the community in which it seeks a license to operate, as well as economic and financial ones to its shareholders or immediate stakeholders. Okay, so this corporate citizenship is basic right, or that is the parameter in civil society which explains what is the role of civil society for particular societal डेव्हलपमेंट, किंवा एखाद्या सोसायटीमध्ये ह्या सिव्हिल सोसायटी ऑर्गनायझेशन जेव्हा काम करतात तेव्हा what are the social responsibilities which this civil society has to consider. That is the meaning of this. That is the meaning of this particular point. So as a corporate citizenship, or as a citizen, what social responsibilities these civil society organizations are having, that are explained in this particular point. So once again, I will read this. Corporate citizenship is a recognition that business, corporation, or business-like organizations has social, cultural, and environmental responsibilities to the community in which it seeks a license to operate, as well as economic and financial ones to its shareholders or immediate stakeholders. Okay, that is the meaning of corporate citizenship. So these are the stages for corporate citizenship. First one, it is credibility, then capacity, then coherence, and this commitment. Okay, so this diagram and these stages we will see in the next lecture. Okay, so we will stop here today.